Dundee dated Monday, November 9th, 2018 at 6 p.m. Catherine, will you take the roll, please?
Trustee Barnum?
Here.
Trustee Sell?
Here.
Trustee Wood? Here. Trustee Hall? Trustee Mahoney? Here. Trustee Andreessen? President Miller?
Here. Mr. President, join me in pledging allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, that takes us to public comment on agenda items only. Is there anybody that wishes to address the board on something on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
No.
May I?
Sure.
You say non-agenda.
No, this is agenda.
I'm sorry. Non-agenda.
Okay. We have a consent agenda. Do we want to add or take anything off of that? We have a motion on the consent agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular village board meeting minutes dated November 5th, 2018. And item B, a motion to approve the resolution establishing the regular meeting dates and committee of the whole meeting dates for the board of trustees and establishing planning and zoning and the historic commission meeting dates for the village of East Dundee for the calendar year 2019.
Second. Trustee Barnum?
Yes.
Trustee Sell?
Yes.
Trustee Wood? Trustee Mahoney? Yes.
Okay, very good. There's no old business. First thing we have under new business is the police department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a couple of preliminary remarks before the oath is administered. Good evening, Mr. President, village trustees, colleagues, and residents. I'm here this evening with 4, make it 5, of East Dundee's finest. These 5 represent our 12 full-time and 6 part-time officers. They include a lieutenant, a sergeant, and officers from both day and night shift. These officers are here voluntarily to participate in this ceremony. You've heard me say that the most important part of a police chief's job is to promote professional values and hold personnel accountable to those values. I believe that the tone, the tenor, and the tolerance of a police organization are all set by the chief of police. In other words, the ethics in the agency flow from the chief to all others in the organization. In East Dundee, we promote 7 core values. These values are, and I'll go through them quickly. 1, we provide fair treatment and equal protection under the law to all people at all times. There are no exceptions. 2, we use only the reasonable force necessary to accomplish a lawful purpose. What that means in plain English, we use minimum force. 3, we are honest and we perform our job with integrity every day. 4, we define our role not simply as law enforcement officers, but more broadly as community problem solvers. 5, we view our badge as a symbol not just of authority, but of the public trust in us. 6, we rise to a higher standard of conduct both on and off the job. 7, we place a priority on everyone's safety. Our goal is no injuries to police officers or to people that we have contact with. Since last February, we've been conducting discussions regularly about ethics and values. The first item on every agenda of our monthly supervisory staff meetings is a discussion of ethics. As a group, we all take the oath of honor, and then we discuss it. Sometimes I lead those discussions, but more often it's our lieutenant and sergeants who rotate responsibility. And another way of keeping ethics strong in the East Dundee Police Department is that I will ask each officer to take and abide by the law enforcement oath of honor, which is displayed here. This oath was created by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. There's room for signatures on the bottom of the board. Tonight, I'm asking the village president if he will please administer the oath to these representatives of our organization, and I'll ask each of them to sign it. Later, when everyone has signed this oath, everyone has taken it and signed it. Our plan is to display this in the front lobby of the police department so all of our visitors can see it as certainly an indication of our ethics. and our commitment to performing with integrity every day. The oath of honor is a promise that we make to the East Dundee community, and it's an important part of who we are. So, Leo, would you please administer the oath to our 5 officers?
Thank you, Chief.
We want our guys to be able to see this also.
You raise your right hand, repeat after me. On my honor,
On my honor,
I will never betray my badge,
I will never betray my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
my character,
my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve. Thank you. Guys, would you just lay it down on one of these desks for signature, please? Perfect. Sign wherever you like. As the officers are signing this oath, let me share that Lieutenant Governale is going to give each of them a coin. I've asked him to share the coin on the dais also. You will see that the reverse side of this law enforcement coin contains the oath on it. Our intention is that the coin serve as a continual reminder to the officers of the oath they have just taken. I would like to thank Officer Dan Duda, John Lawson, Alan Casiva, Ryan Miles, and Sergeant Andy Ritter, as well as Lieutenant Governale for participating in this ceremony. And thank you, President Miller, for giving us this opportunity to demonstrate one of the ways that we promote values in the East Dundee Police Department. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to our next item. The new business, item B, which is a motion approving ordinance. And then, number of liquor licenses, if I have a motion on that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance of the Village of East Dundee, Cook, Kane County, Illinois, amending the number of Class E1 liquor licenses and the number of video gaming permits on this era kitchen and bar.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Jennifer, any background on this?
Sure. I think if you know the location of Los Cocos Taqueria, they're going to be ceasing operations, and what this resolution does is at the time when Los Cocos ceases operation, this resolution will become into effect, which will create the additional E1 liquor license, which is a restaurant liquor license, as well as a video gaming permit. And as you recall, we have to recreate this because when a business ceases, the license terminates, the code automatically is reduced by 1 license. So we're going to have the reduction, and then this will create an additional license. And so that is what this resolution is doing. Are there any questions on that?
Just, it remains the same.
Yes, it's the same, yes.
Anything else?
They were going to try to come, and I do not see them in the audience tonight. So.
Catherine?
Trustee Liner?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Wood?
Yes.
I'm sorry? Yes. Trustee Paul?
I didn't hear what
This
you
is
said.
item, we're looking at
I have to
item,
go beyond.
I'm sorry.
I came in late, so.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
All right, very good. That takes us to item C on new business. Have a motion on this, please?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution of the Village of East Dundee approving an insurance proposal from Alliant Musro Insurance Services.
Second.
Very good. Discussion? Sure, absolutely.
In front of you, you have a renewal proposal from Alliant. This is for insurance coverage for next year. It would begin actually December 1st of this year, go through November 30th of next year. This is insurance coverage for the village for property and casualty as well as workers' comp. Everything is pretty much staying the same from last year's or current insurance policy with them. The overall premiums for the village are slightly decreasing this next year, which is a good thing. I do have Michael with the line here. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. I was reading that it said, and I don't have the document in front of me, I have it from memory, that the premium for the village was reducing. And they said that the premium currently was like some number, let's say $37 million. And it was decreasing to $41 million. Made no sense to me. So
Do you remember what that was? Are you able to?
Yes, I think I can clarify that, trustee. I think you're looking at the property section of the proposal, of which I advised that the village's personal property was decreasing when unfortunately that was a typo on my part. It slightly increased, and it increases every year as a result of just property inflation as we insure to replacement cost, not market value. So that should be increased. I apologize for that. Yeah, I apologize.
Well, yeah, I have a quick question. It indicated that this was basically a pool made up of dozens of different municipalities. And I'm wondering about, from a property standpoint, the condition of other municipalities' infrastructure and the effect on the pool in general. So, I mean, we've got a brand new police department. We've got a brand new fire department. The other town next to us has got one that's ready to fall down, but they're in the same pool. I'm wondering, how the condition and the likelihood of liability on that property is going to affect someone who's in a lot better shape.
Sure, those, our limits are individual limits, and you are correct, they do buy it as a pool, but all of that is reinsured. The thing that we're really worried about right now is rate, what's going to happen. There were 2 large hurricanes this year. We have all of those unfortunate wildfires on the west coast. So now the renewal rates will start at the probably January 1st. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. But you should have no concern about what your neighbors are doing as you have your own limits. The spread of risk from these pools is very large. So, you're sharing limits with people that are 40, 50, 100, 200, 300 miles away as well. So there's, it's a multi-billion-dollar reinsured program. So it's large enough to provide coverage for all its members. And those limits are per occurrence with regards to property. So with this reinsurance program, $1 billion loss today and another one 2 days later. That's how that works.
Well, given that it's a pool major, I'm just wondering what sort of either behavior or activities of municipalities will engage in that would help bring the premiums down next year or the year.
Are you talking about property, or are you talking about liability?
Well, liability mainly, but
Okay.
you know, I mean, I'm certain it's, gonna be, and so forth, the number of accidents you indicated has been pretty steady, very low. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if that has been the driver of the decrease in our premium.
The decrease is just the rates have remained somewhat flat. Your exposure's minimally changed, it was mainly the property. Your auto went down a little bit, so the property increase was offset by the property decrease, or the auto decrease. But your liability program is based on claims, it's based on exposure, your expenditure, number of autos, number of law enforcement officers. So there's a number of exposure points that all factor together. And they're basically blended together to come up with these rates. Our pool is not accessible, so if the pool has a bad year, this particular pool is not accessible. If they have a bad year and that claim doesn't develop for 2, 3, 5 years down the road, they cannot come back and ask East Dundee for an additional contribution. So, am I answering, am I in there?
Trying to think of
Yeah.
things that people might be thinking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of loss control, there are seminars that we put on. Loss control comes here from the village, 2 different sides. The liability side, which is your general liability, your auto, and your law enforcement. And then we have the work comp side that comes in here and does assessments and training and things like that. And the village is doing everything that, in my opinion, that they can do to keep their losses at a minimum.
But that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve this. Yep. Roll, please.
Trustee Longbody?
Yes.
Trustee Silla?
Yes.
Trustee Wood? Trustee Hall?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
All right, you have a copy of the warrants list in your packet. The only report I have this evening is last week I had an honor to award Tim and Lucy Galap, Community Service Award for East Dundee for 2018 at the Northern Kane County Chamber of Commerce Community Service Awards at Dundee Oaks. We'll go around the table, see if anybody has anything else there. Trustee Sal? No report. Trustee Mahoney?
No report.
No report.
All right. Village Administrator?
We do have a few events coming up. I just want to remind you, after Thanksgiving, we have Dickens on November 30th, so it's a little earlier this year. So please try to make it out, and the parade is the following day at 10 a.m. So the parade lineup will come out in the near future, but I just want you to have that on your calendar, and let us know if you're going to be able to walk in the parade. We also have the annual chamber luncheon at the Anvil Club, and that is on December 7th. So if you can make it, if you're available, please let us know. That would be great. And that's all I have. Thank you.
We still need people for windows.
Yes, we do need actors for our Living Windows audience. We do need actors for our Living Windows, which are a spectacular tradition here. So anyone who has about 3 hours to spare and doesn't mind putting on makeup, we do get free makeup and a free outfit. I know Ellen, Trustee Hall did it last year, right? So please let Brad know.
No report.
Don't see anybody else here, so we'll just skip that part. All right, public comment on non-agenda items. Since there's a large number of you people here, I'll just give you a couple of ground rules. Try to keep it under 3 minutes if you can. If somebody's saying the exact same thing that you're saying, it's not necessary for you to repeat. I understand, I'm guessing most of you are here to talk about Water Street. And then the last thing I would ask is, I had something else. That's it. Oh, just as a guideline, this is not a back and forth where it's a question and answer period, because this is on non-agenda items on the agenda. It's just for you to voice your opinion at this point.
And people can state their opinion,
Oh,
if they're a resident or if they're a business.
Yep. Okay.
First is Michael Skibley, resident on East Third Street.
Hi there.
Hi.
I live one block north here, corner of 3rd and North. Lived there for 42 years. My wife has lived in Dundee her whole life. She's 68. Her aunt lives a block away from us on King William. She's 94 or 5, I believe, right? She doesn't drive anymore, her aunt, naturally, but her people that help her for going to the doctor and her appointments, stuff like that, drive Water Street every other day. We use the street every day, if not 2, 3, 4 times a day. Her family has owned and had this house since it was built in 1890, excuse me. I just can't believe the negativity that I've heard from talking personally to approximately 80 to 100 people in town here, all locals, people that live north of 72 and business people that own businesses around here. I have not heard one comment that said, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's throw that up. That's going to be good for this town. I haven't found one, and neither is my wife or my son. What would make the village board think that this is such a great idea? I know you said it's not a question and answer, you're not going to answer me. I'm going to put that to you. What would make you think it's such a great idea when the whole town of East Dundee, and I think you're going to hear some more comments, the same as mine, would make you decide you want to throw a building up to some builder that wants to make profit off of his rental properties, his business, and what does anybody else get out of it? Zero. Traffic jams worse than what they are right now. Something stinks to high heaven, as far as I'm concerned. I've never been to a meeting here in my life, and I lived up the street a block 42 years. That's why I'm here, because it stinks to high heaven. And I want everybody to know it, because you know what's going to hit the fan at some point if this goes through. What I would like to ask, and I'll finish, is at least if the board would put off a vote for this next week, maybe close the road put up some barricades, close it for a couple weeks or a month or whatever. Winter's coming up. If you close it permanently, you're going to have to go through that in the wintertime. Maybe close it temporarily, then put up signs that it's closed and do your traffic. I think apparently the traffic survey was done when Water Street was closed down here in Carpentersville, so naturally you couldn't get much traffic through there, so that's why it looked better. But that's my honest opinion. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I think something stinks in high heaven.
Yep.
Dennis Schultz, resident on Rosalind Road.
Yes. Name is Dennis Schultz. I live at 424 Rosalind Road. And one thing in that I just wonder that when this village was laid out by an engineer, there was a reason why they put these streets where they put them. And now all of a sudden, and that after 100 years, 150 years or whatever, now we're going to decide on that this is no longer needed. But I want to know why it's no longer needed. For one thing, I think you're being very unfair to your businesses. The businesses, when they come into a community, they look at exit and entrance and exit on roads and stuff where they want to place their business and that. Now all of a sudden in that, we come in, we're going to change it. They're stuck for a lot of money in those businesses and that. And their businesses rely on the egress and ingress and that of the people trying to come to their businesses. Now all of a sudden we're changing it. I think that's very unfair to our businesses. And another thing is that you're going to push traffic from water to river, from river to Van Buren. Van Buren is a residential street. And another big items, and that right there on Van Buren is, you got the school right there. Kids have to go across at least twice a day, and across that street. You know, that's throwing a lot of danger on those kids, and because your traffic for the guards and that for the kids, they aren't always there. Kid stays after school. The traffic guard is gone. The kid's got to fight to try to go across that. These are a few of my points to that. I'd like to see you take them up.
Stephen Lennon, resident on Dundee Avenue.
Steve Lennon, 1000 Dundee Avenue, 100 yards south of Club Royale. I was here a couple of weeks ago after signing a complaint. Last Saturday, I wanted to sign a complaint again. There was a whole horn section, it sounded like, playing in the parking lot or something. Normally I'm here talking about ultra-low frequency bass. This was not just ultra-low frequency bass. This was a whole horn section coming right through my house. So I called, officer came by. I wanted to sign a ticket because former Chief Meade said, quote, and neighbors, if you have a complaint, sign the complaint. That way there's a paper trail. All three of us can do something together to help solve the issue, end quote. I could not sign a complaint. Standard operating procedure apparently is they always get one free pass. There's been, according to the Freedom of Information Act, when I speak to Chief Carpenter today, 29 instances. Those were 29 really bad nights I had. Maybe not 29, because there were multiple calls some nights. Let's say a couple dozen. Those are really bad nights. Seems like their standard operating procedure, Club Royale, is to get louder and louder until I complain. They may or may not turn it down. In the past, I've just been calling. Now I'm tired of it. I'm going to be signing complaints. Now I can't sign a complaint right away. I have to give them a free pass. How many passes do I get on the road? How many warnings do I get on the road without getting my license taken away? You should get 0 free passes. The noise ordinance states 50 feet. As I said 2 weeks ago, in May of 17, it culminated with 3 distinct nights of tickets. Horrible nights for my family and my renter. Went in front of the Liquor Commission judge, who promptly balled all these 3 distinct horrible nights into one and threw them out because of semantics. Clearly audible wasn't clear enough. So the language got it thrown out. Also, 2 people on Castle were complaining. They weren't East Dundee residents, so that didn't satisfy the requirements for this complaint. So they threw the 3 reasons the lawyer argued they throw them out. But above all, they're making too much noise. It's in my house. Nothing has been happening for years. There's also symptoms of ultra-low frequency noise. There's psychological problems and there's physical problems. This is a fact. You guys can look that up if you feel like it. Also, if you want to see what's really going on, stop by there Friday night and listen for yourself what I have to put up with. I'm also the only house. That's not my fault. I'm a straight shot there. The people on Castle, one of the ladies is dead. The other guy apparently just gave up. I'm not giving up. This is my house. I come down Route 25 on a Friday after work, and my heart sinks when I see cars in his house because I know what I'm up for that night, the whole night. I'm not trying to be frivolous, but this is like the guy in school that hits you on the back of the head when you're not looking. That's how it is. I'm always waiting for the noise to come back on. How can I have peace in my house like this? Years I've been dealing with this. Mr. Benitez, I don't care how much money he said he spent on acoustics. This board mentioned that the acoustics were placed on the north side and the west side. This is the exact opposite of my house. I don't know what game he's playing. This doesn't affect my noise. I know I'm not expecting an answer, but on the same date that those dates were thrown out, Mr. Miller said that we were going to redo the language, or we needed new language. I'd like to know if anything has happened since March of 17 or May of 17 to this date. I'm really fed up with this. You're going to see me every 2 weeks. I want something done. Chief said that his officers are accountable. I would like some accountability, and I'm going to be here every 2 weeks. I'll see what I can do to get put on the agenda. Maybe we can have a conversation about this. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions I can help with? Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Jason Schultz, resident on Van Buren.
Hey, there, everybody. I was here 2 weeks ago. I said I wanted to get ahead of the vote on Water Street. Some of the concerns, I have emailed the entire board twice now. I spoke to Kirsten briefly at the last meeting, Jeff briefly at the last meeting. And Scott and I had a very lengthy meeting. It was productive, it was objective. He was fair to me, I was fair to him. I didn't, I don't think either one of us really changed each other's minds on where we stood, but it was fair and reasonable, and I appreciate that. I haven't heard from anybody else on the board yet. And I've emailed you guys twice, I sent you the list of concerns. I'd really like to discuss these things with you because I feel like if you think those concerns are minimal, then I'd like to hear either why you think they're minimal or why you feel that there are priorities above and beyond those concerns. Because some of the things that I noted in there are, things like, I've heard that one of the village's intentions is to push traffic to River Street, that they think that's going to improve the businesses down there, to get more traffic down there, and I just don't see that. For one thing, River Street ends at a dead end and has a snake turn in the middle of it. Nobody likes to use River Street. I never use it, my friends and family never use it. We all have the same reasons, and they're very good reasons. So I don't think that closing Water Street, that's a long, straight stretch from and beyond Carpentersville Main Street to East Dundee Main Street, is going to push people there. I think it's going to push them largely to Van Buren, which is the only other through street into Carpentersville between Route 25 and the river. And that's a problem, as people have mentioned, it's a residential neighborhood. It's also, there are only sidewalks on one side of the street up to Roslyn Road. The sidewalk on the other side of the street only goes to the pillars. Widening the road over there isn't much of a good option because the pillars would have to come down for that. And I think removing those pillars to widen the road there, it would detract from the beauty of the neighborhood. It's kind of a unique thing. It's always been kind of the gateway into Lakewood Estates. It's a very cool, unique thing in town. And I think jeopardizing that would be kind of a concern. And I think without widening the road, we're at issues there for traffic because that road is narrow. It gets narrower north of the pillars and the sidewalk ends at one point. And there's some danger there. I mentioned before, myself and my dog have been near misses multiple times crossing the street. I have to cross the street there if I want to use the sidewalk. And it's been multiple times that I've had to step back on the curb and get out of the street because somebody's flying down there at 50, 60 miles an hour. On my way walking down here tonight, there was a car leaving Barrington Avenue at the stop sign. By the time they passed my house, going a good 50 miles an hour. Now I understand no matter how much or how little traffic is on the road, there's going to be speeders. I get that. But adding more traffic to the area is not going to help. And when you cut off one of the routes in town and people have to get around that, some of those people are naturally going to try and make up that time, which means they're going to be speeding if they're taking a different route that takes them longer. That's going to be an issue. That street takes a ton of school bus traffic. And the other day, I saw a school bus have to pull all the way over to the road, scraping the curb when they were being passed coming by opposing traffic by a tow truck carrying another school bus. Now, I understand, those are two very big vehicles, they're not going to be there all the time. But a school bus on the road and one car parked on the road and people trying to get the other way, that right there is a traffic jam. And I mean, yeah, you could say there's no more parking on the street. You could put up a weight limit on there. But that seems like a lot of hassle to go through for what the village is, from what I can tell, expecting to get out of this development that would close Water Street. So I just don't see the value there. I don't see the offset in it. So I'd love to hear from any and all of you. Another thing I wanted to say about that is that, there's more people here than I've seen in a village meeting in ages, and I think a lot of people want to talk about that. And if you look around town, my understanding is that there are 200 signs around town with proposals against the Water Street closure. And my understanding is that the person who was distributing them ran out at 200 and people were still looking for them. So I think that's, kind of indicative of how many people around here are concerned about it when that many people are calling. I mean, how many people ever really come down here to talk about many issues at all in town? Most things, I don't think people care that much about. In my 42 years here, I've lived here all my life. In my 42 years here, I have never heard another issue with so many people in town opposed to it as this one. So I know the decision hasn't been made yet, that the vote hasn't been made yet, but I just want you guys to really carefully consider how opposed people are to this. One of the things that I talked to with Scott when I talked to him was, he didn't, because he lives here, he wants this to be, for the best and everything, and I get that. And, he doesn't want to be despised in town for making a decision. I think that you're really looking at a lot of criticism from around town if you decide to close that road. I really think there's going to be a very, very popular opposition to that. Gotcha. And the only other one thing I wanted to say is I've heard the issue that it's only one block that's closing. But the fact that that's the one block that connects to Main Street is a big deal. I would oppose it if there was a block closing anywhere on that road because it takes away the fact that it's a straight shot. But being at Main Street, blocking it right there, I compared it to a straw or a pipe. A straw or a pipe with a block anywhere and it is no longer useful. So I just, those are some of the things I'd like you guys to consider along with the concerns that I emailed you guys. Thank you very much.
Rob Gorman, President, Fallbrook Court.
Hello.
Hello.
I have emailed, I think, there were 6 of you, the board members, trustees, and, I've heard from 2. And I guess, here's my view. I've sat in your seat before, and I understand sometimes there's a bigger picture, right? I mean, I know that happens at times. I gotta tell you, I am actually really quite concerned about the lack of transparency on this. Now, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I can tell you that probably the folks that are sitting behind me feel that way. For instance, to the fact that I found out about this November 26th meeting by looking, or actually it was somebody else who pointed it out to me, found it in the public notices, but sitting right on the front page of our website, or your website, says that it's canceled. Further, that I needed the FOIA documents that I actually read in the paper that theoretically are on the website, such as the traffic study and so forth, and I never even found any of them, even to this point. The lack of transparency, and I know each one of you, and I don't think any one of you are intentionally trying to do this. I hope that's not the case. But I will tell you that it feels like something's happening. Somebody's trying to hide something. Somebody's trying to put something through. Somebody is trying to keep this town from understanding what's going on. Thankfully, I mean, all these folks have shown up, and you and I have been in board meetings where we don't see these kinds of folks that are here. There is a real issue here that's going on, and the fact that today you were thinking about voting next week, and still to this date, there's no information on the website, or just think for a second about the home rule issue. How much effort and time this board spent on educating people on home rule. But what we find today is zero education from this board on one of the probably most important things that's going to happen in this town or impact a number of people. And here's my view, and I sent this to you in an email. But I think you guys are victims of groupthink. And honestly, groupthink is a great book to read and so forth, but I sent you the URL on it. Here's what I think what happened. You guys had heard from a developer and said, I can make a big change in this town. I can develop this amazing retail space. And by the way, it's going to go on Water Street, but don't worry, there's not any traffic on Water Street. Nobody will care if it's shut down. And that retail space would be miraculous. Now I'm exaggerating, of course. But that retail space is going to change the way 72 looks. Let me tell you what it is. Today, that proposal, let's be clear on what that proposal is. That proposal is 8 condo units. It's going to impact guys like him and all these neighbors here, people that have invested in this town. And what I don't understand, because I sat in your seats, is that each one of you continues, as I speak to you individually, if I get a hold of you, you continue to think there's a better reason to do this. You see, I think this local government actually is the best representation of our republic or the democracy that we have, or representative democracy. And I don't see it happening. I don't see you guys listening to these folks that are sitting back here. I didn't call any of them. Ask them to come. I don't think I asked you to consider that you've got opinions from other people. And no matter whether you think this is going to be a miraculous project that will transform 72, first of all, I don't believe that. I don't think anybody here believes that. But even if you do think that, I ask you to think for a moment here of the impact that you're going to make, the guys that have made investments in town, or the music store that doesn't want to see it for happening, or somebody that's going to lose their right of way. Think about them. Don't think about a developer. Don't think about the fact that maybe this could transform 72. Let's think about where we spend our efforts. If you want to transform 72, go ask that same developer to transform a building that doesn't impact the lives of people, doesn't impact the financial resources of people. That's my ask. And my other ask is let's put an end to this. Let's vote on it and say, no, we're not going to do it. Don't hang it out there. Don't sneak it on an agenda. Be public about it and tell people what's going on. Because I know each one of you personally. I know that that's what's in you, and I know that this isn't an intention to hide anything. But I am going to tell you that's what we feel, each one of us out there.
Right on.
Thank you.
Jennifer Ford, resident on Hill Street.
Hi, I've lived here about 18 years, and I came to express my objection to closing Water Street, and I really appreciate everything everyone has said, and you have really just expressed everything I think, so I really can't add to it. I couldn't agree more with what my fellow residents have said.
Thank you.
I think you should be listening to people who elected you.
Thank you.
Mike Gutierrez, owner of Dairy Queen.
Hello guys, I prepared a little statement today. Last time I kind of threw by the hip, didn't go there well, but this time. I'm Mike Gutierrez from the Dundee Dairy Queen, 15 East Main Street, East Dundee. I've met with almost everybody here. If I haven't met with you yet, it's because not because I don't want to, I definitely would like to still have the opportunity to sit down and meet with each and every one of you. I know it's been taken off the agenda for today, but I do still want to talk about the Water Street project. So my reason for being here today is I had conversations with each and every one of you previously, and we were talking about there to be some discussions with the village administrator, and I just want to let you know where we're at today and kind of give you an update. I want to set the record straight. We currently do not have an adequate solution for the problems that the Dairy Queen may concern. We have talked about a lot of different things. There's been a couple of different proposals made, but at this time we don't have any solid, alternate to what keeping Water Street open would be. So as of today, as I stand here right now, I'm still against the closure of Water Street, and I don't think it's in the best interest of us. I'm going to say that I firsthand know how traffic flow and traffic congestion affects my business. The construction events of this fall on Route 72 and everywhere else around town has caused revenue at the Dairy Queen to drop by 38%. And drive-through sales account for 70 to almost 90% of our business during this time of year. Without easy access to get into the DQ off of River Street, and without easy access of my customers and East Dundee residents to get home using Water Street, DQ sales will suffer immensely. I have met with Administrator Jennifer Johnson several times, along with the engineering people and people from Public Works, and we have discussed several options on potential workarounds. So far, none of these plans that I have seen are workable or acceptable. Plus, what we're talking about is workarounds. Workarounds to the problem that is caused by the closure of Water Street. I don't want to have a workaround. I don't want the street to be closed. In reviewing some of these potential workarounds to the DQ and the public parking lots, there has been no analysis or plan made as to how the closure will affect River Street. The first traffic study, I haven't seen the second traffic study, I don't know if it's available yet, speculates that most of the Water Street traffic will be deferred to River Street and or Van Buren Street. With the additional traffic on River Street, because of the closure of Water Street, you know, our entrance and exit is right there on River Street. And one of the proposals is to have the entrance and exit and the drive-through all come in and out onto River Street over there. What I don't understand is there's been no analysis as to how that's going to work, because River Street is a tiny little street. I was also informed in our meeting with Jennifer and the engineer that any changes to the signaling or any improvements to the intersection of Water Street and River Street and Route 72 will require IDOT approval, and therefore no changes will happen for approximately, what the number was thrown out was 18 months or so, I believe. So I understand that the board has no control over IDOT and no control over, you know, what they can do to that intersection potentially. But I don't know how the board can move forward with the project knowing that the DQ and East Dundee residents will suffer for at least 18 months before a remedy that we don't even know will work can be applied. I don't know what business can sustain even a potential loss of revenue for 18 months. Plus whatever time it would take to rectify the situation after that, if there is a possible rectification. As I stated repeatedly when I spoke with you individually, I am not against progress for East Dundee. It shouldn't be either this Water Street project goes or no progress takes place at all. That's what I've been told. That if this doesn't happen, then there's just not going to be any progress. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. The question should be, is this the right project for right now? And if there are no other workable projects, or if there are other acceptable ways to do this, I'm willing to discuss them with you. Those allowing for the street to remain open would be the best for everyone, I believe. I agree more people to the downtown area is a good thing. However, I don't believe that we should allow a project to move forward to the detriment of other businesses in the area. Moreover, this project proposal started as a retail space with condo development. It's now been moved to only a condo development, and just recently I've been informed that it's now talked about just being apartments only. So we're not even selling condos anymore. I again ask, is this the correct project for this time? And I say no. I am one of the top performing Dairy Queens in Northern Illinois. I've been there for 28 years. I plan on being here even longer. I hope that it's evident that I am trying to work with the village by listening to potential benefits of the project, and by listening to different ideas that are being presented to me by engineers and the village administrator. I do believe you guys want to work with me. I do believe that. However, I just want to be very clear, we currently do not have a solution to the problem. I was told by several board members in our face-to-face meetings that if the Water Street project is going to hurt the Dairy Queen, then they will not approve the plan. I'm here to tell you today that this project will certainly hurt the Dairy Queen. I respectfully ask that you vote to reject this project. I know we're running a little bit short on time for a vote on this project. Tentatively, I've seen that it's been scheduled for next Monday. That's the date I'm told the vote might take place. I know it would be difficult for us to get together and meet face-to-face before next Monday because, you know, it's holiday weekend, Thanksgiving. A lot of us will be out of town, including myself. However, if you have any questions or comments or you want to talk more about this, I'm more than willing to meet with you, talk to you on the phone. I've had a couple of really good, lengthy phone conversations with some of you. And I will be reaching out to you each individually before next Monday just to let you know my thoughts in writing and on paper and sending you an email. And if you want to follow up with a phone call or a sit down or an ice cream cone, I'll be more than happy to take care of you. So, and just as on a side note, we are going to be open for the first time during Dickens and Dundee this coming weeks, and I look forward to seeing everybody there. We'll have our windows decorated. I don't think we'll have any actors in them. But I just wanted to express, because I know I hear a lot of things coming I see a lot of people, and unfortunately for me, this time of year, we're pretty slow at the Dairy Queen, and my customers tend to have a lot of time to talk to me, when they come to the window. So I hear a lot of different crazy things, oh, the board says you're on board with everything, everything's good, you got this all worked out, and I'm just here to tell you today it's not worked out. And I don't see how it could be possibly to be worked out by next Monday, when a vote is potentially scheduled. So I just, I hope that we can just not do this. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know what.
Janet Wojnicki,
Right.
North Street.
I'm a resident of East Dundee, for over 10 years. And I would like to offer my objections to closing Water Street. And I'll tell you why. A few things. There are 3 streets that access 72 Main Street from this little town. And one of them is Water Street. Now, if you really think about it in general terms, even if you don't think about it even in East Dundee terms, any village that wants to encourage people to enter the town, visit the riverfront, which is a lovely feature of this town, one of the reasons I'm here, and access the businesses and patronize the businesses and restaurants that are here. You might want to access it for 72. Close off one of 3 streets, you have 2 streets. I don't know, but to me, it just doesn't make rational sense. Why would you close the street that directly accesses the riverfront that you would like people to visit? And I think there's a part of the proposal was to improve that riverfront. I agree with that. I agree with some development in this town. I agree with properties in this town. I just don't agree that closing access for to get another street doesn't make any sense. I had conversations with a number of people, and the website next to East Dundee, there are a number of residents there that are very opposed. I don't know if any of them are here, but I can tell you that there's a lot of opposition. And just in terms of, again, accessing the riverfront, I was talking to you, I think it was Jeff, yesterday, and there was some talk about, well, what would that really mean? People who turn on Water Street, well, they go directly to Carpenter's. No, they don't. I use Water Street just about every day. I know a lot of people live in the area where I do, which is on North Street, do as well. And I like to drive there because it's pleasant. If you can't access it, you go onto Weston. Drive down 72, you don't know this town, you don't know, you sort of see a little bit about the town, you might hear about it, you might want to visit a restaurant, there's a river here. If you're driving by, I guess I can't turn there on Calvert, West Indian, I'll see the river there. Why stop here? That's one of the main features here. I think accessing, closing on access to Water Street would jeopardize that, and I really oppose that. I think that's sort of short-sighted. There have to be other developers in this world with other proposals. This is not the only one in life. We've waited this long. There are other things to consider, and I'd be happy. I think I told you this yesterday, Jeff. If you want some community members to engage with you all and looking for other developers and finding other plans, I'm in it. Anybody else join me? I'd like to do that. So let's not make a short-sighted plan and jeopardize things for years to come. Once you close off Water Street, it's really hard to go back. So think about it. I'm opposed. Thank you.
Victor Delanoy,
Yeah.
Resident Ray Road.
Yeah, 9 Road. Yeah, well, I just found out about this yesterday. I didn't know what was going on. I went into City Hall, I looked at the plans briefly, and to me it just looks like poor design. I mean, I work construction. I've been working construction for years now, and I know when you work near water, especially downtown, you throw pile drivers, stops the water, and you build your foundation. I don't know why they're pulling back so far away from the edge if they could build up to it. Or they could just build a slab on top of the ground and not have to worry about anything. Save money that way too, and then just look at the street over. Like I said, it just looks like a poor design. They didn't really think about it too much. That's pretty much all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Lisa Simmons,
Yeah.
Studio 104 on River Street.
Yes.
and I'm a resident on 5 Tunnel Track for 22 years. I just wanted to add, everybody's talking about their concerns. By having them take the left on River Street, where most of my clients have been taking it, say you're going east on 72, and they take it on Water, and then they take a right to get to where I'm at. By closing the water off, and anybody who would normally go all the way through, you're gonna force them to take the left on River and come back to Water, hence going over the bike path again. There's gonna be more traffic crossing the bike path that wouldn't have had they been able to go straight down Water. I think that's really dangerous, because there's oftentimes where I get, and I'm making sure there's nobody coming, but it's more congested there, and you're forcing cars to come back down and cross over, and that's really dangerous. I think that needs to be added to the concerns as well.
Good point.
Yeah.
Very good.
That happens all the time. It's really dangerous.
Anybody else? Nobody else has signed up, but anybody else want to say anything?
I got one thing to say.
Yeah.
So I'm John Hayes, I'm 115 Water Street, so I'm right at Hill and Water, so I'm real close to where we close.
Yeah.
So the only thing I gotta say is, you know, at night, we see a lot of ambulance coming through on Water Street. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna direct those ambulances back over to where all this congestion is gonna be,
Yes.
and try to get there, through there, to get over to Sherman Hospital. It just doesn't seem that it makes a lot of sense. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of ambulances. I'm surprised, and it's unfortunate, but if you sit there and you see these guys, and you're gonna say, let's add another 15 seconds to your commute. You know what? It won't be funny when it's you in the car. And that's all I have to say.
All right, last call.
Yeah, I got,
All right.
my name is Rick Seymour. I'm over on North Street. I've been here for 19 years and I enjoy living in the village. But really, I've only got 3 questions I don't expect answers tonight. What is the benefit going to be to me? What is it going to cost me? And if we were to take a vote right now, how would you all stand?
They're not gonna answer that.
Well, I don't expect an answer because they told us they wouldn't.
Right.
They'll answer next week.
With all transparency aside, let's have a show of hands.
All right. That does it for us this evening. We don't have an executive session, so I just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Very good. Thank you.